Diarmuid O'Sullivan of Cork, you must have been sick at the end of it, were you?
Yeah, it was disappointing, Des. You know, if you said to me going up before the game, Cork could have 4 very good goal chances and miss a penalty, you know, you'd be very disappointed to come away not having won that game. And I've no doubt the lads are feeling, you know, the same today. It's a game they probably left after me in a lot of respects.
The injuries, was that crucial?
Exactly. You know, when you take the likes of Shane O'Neill, Sean Oak, Ronan Kern, 3 linchpins in the backline who've been there now. Shane, probably the less for the last couple of years, but Ronan and Sean Oak have been dominant over the last 7-8 years. And to lose them, you know, to Sean Oak from the start and Ronan just at the start of extra time, they were big blows. And, you know, not too many teams could cope with losing them. But I think, give credit to the lads who did come in. Young William Egan came in there. You know, midfield not easy for him, tacked a point on. So, look, you know, there's positives to be taken as well.
All right then. On a broader picture about Munster, Tommy Dunn, I mean, Tip were well beaten by Cork. It was a bit of a topsy-turvy Munster Championship in a way. Where are Tip, would you say?
Well, sure, you know, they're in the quarter-final now anyway, Des. By whatever road they got there, it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really matter for any other team either. You know, Cork gave probably the performance of the championship so far, I think, against Tip a few weeks ago, but they haven't reproduced it. But they may reproduce it yet. Yeah. Tip have showed mixed form so far, but they're playing fairly solidly in their last 2 games, and they're going up to play against Galway in a real 50-50 game. So look, all bets are off at this stage for the quarter-finalists, and everybody has a chance, and it's whoever can produce it on the day is going to get into the semi-final. But Tip have as good a chance as anybody now, I think.
Vincent Hogan of the Irish Independent. It's been a strange Munster Championship in many ways, hasn't it? There's the Limerick situation. There was Waterford Clare playing in a semi-final on a bank holiday in front of a small crowd.
Yeah, I feel to some extent as it was rescued last night because and last Sunday as well, because we got 2 absolutely compelling Munster finals, and I think the managerial performance of the year so far is Davy Fitz. He's basically reinvented the way Waterford hurl. They've been the great entertainers for the last decade. They now are very tactical, and tactically, I'm not sure in my lifetime Cork have ever gone through 35 minutes of championship hurling and only scored 1 point from play. That's what they endured last night. Dennis Walsh described their first half performance in the drawn game as a disaster, so God knows what he would have called it last night. I think Waterford, nobody has studied the way Kilkenny play more assiduously than Davy Fitz, and there's a huge element of Kilkenny's style about Waterford, but there is also an element of robbing Peter to pay Paul. They don't look as menacing in the full forward line because basically John Milan is hurling a lone furrow up there.
All right then. Well, look, we'll be chatting more about that in a while. Coming up shortly, a report on this weekend's 2 hurling qualifiers, Dublin versus Antrim and Tipperary versus Offaly. But we start our roundup with action from the Camogie Championship as Cork took on Wexford in Páirc Uí Chaoimh yesterday.
With the top 2 sides, Kilkenny and Galway, already through to the All-Ireland semi-finals, the meeting of 3rd place Wexford and 4th place reigning All-Ireland champions Cork was going to go a long way to decide who would join them in the last 4. The home side with wind advantaged opened smartly, building up a 4-point lead inside 2 minutes. Sheila Burns converting a free, and then Douglas full forward Julia White bundling home a Cork goal. In what was a close competitive encounter throughout, Wexford fought back with good scores from half-forward Katrina Tarrock and this effort from captain Una Lacey, who led by example throughout. But the Leesiders had fine sharpshooters also, in the elegant Gemma O'Connor, who put over 2 fine points from play, with Orla Cotter also getting on the score sheet. Wexford's free taker Ursula Jacob, who ended with 4 points, ensured that her side were just 2 points behind at half-time, with Cork 1-5 to 6 points in front. Now with the wind at their backs, Wexford attacked the Cork rearguard. Midfielder Kate Kelly found her range, and then skipper Lacey cracked home a great goal to put her side 2 points in front. Defender Katrina Story, a daughter of All-Ireland winning captain Martin, kept the home attack at bay until Cork substitute Joanne Casey left a point between the sides. And then up popped Sheila Burns, who burst through for the winning goal. With Clare losing to Kilkenny, it meant both sides go through to the All-Ireland semi-finals as it finished Cork 2 goals and 10 points, Wexford 1 goal and 10 points.
still have Clare to play next weekend, and that's going to be a big championship game for us as well, to make sure that we keep our confidence up, and we look forward into the middle of August and hopefully we can improve things again.
Dublin began as odds-on favourites to reach the quarter-finals against Antrim at Croke Park, and Anthony Daly's side started well, as only 20 seconds into the game, Joey Boland put the Dubs ahead. But Antrim hit back, and points from Carl McKeegan and Neil McManus, and this goal from corner forward PJ O'Connell put Antrim 1-2 to 2 points ahead 11 minutes in. And Antrim added to that goal as full forward Liam Watson scored a wonderful point from out near the sideline to increase his side lead to 3. Back came Dublin, who looked strangely lethargic in the opening 35, and it was Paddock Carton who supplied some inspiration at least with this point after being set up by Declan O'Dwyer. And it was Carton again who added to 2 Alan McCrabb frees to ensure that Dublin went to the break level, 10 points to Antrim's 1-7. It looked as if the half-time team talk worked for the Dubs as they raced into a 6-point lead in the 50th minute mark. Simon Lambert scoring a wonderful point from play to make it 18 points to 1-9 in favour of Dublin. Incredibly, instead of pressing home their advantage, Dublin allowed Antrim back into the game, and on the hour mark, Carl McKeegan reduced the margin to 3. Alan McCrabb for Dublin and Simon Delargy for Antrim kept it at 3 before Neil McManus scored 2 frees in quick succession as the Glensmen put 1 between the sides. Dublin, however, could have won it had substitute Liam Ryan not put this great goal chance wide in the last few minutes, which would have given his side a 4-point cushion. As it was, Shane McNaughton took responsibility for this free in injury time as astonishingly Antrim levelled the game. Again, Dublin could have won it in injury time, but Declan O'Dwyer's shot drifted harmlessly wide. And in a hectic finish, Antrim won it as midfielder Carl Stewart pounced on the loose ball to put Antrim into the quarter-finals against a dumbfounded Dublin side. Antrim's first ever championship win against Dublin, as it ended Antrim 117, Dublin 19 points.
It was a great result for us today. We had a tough game last week against Carlow. We prepared well all week and we were looking to give Dublin a good game, and we just squeezed out the right side of the result today.
Where does this leave you and your management team, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I suppose tonight isn't the night for any decisions really, but everyone was feeling like never want to see a hurling game again now at the minute, so I suppose that's not the time to be making anything rash. Like I suppose I would have agreed to stay on for 2 years at the start of the season, but I don't know. If we're not making real progress, there's no point, and if the message isn't getting through, whatever kind of a message we're trying to deliver, but everyone will have to reassess the situation. I don't know. We'll have to just think about things over the next couple of weeks.
Owen Kelly was tormentor-in-chief when Tipperary beat Offaly in their previous championship meeting, the corner forward supplying 112 of their total in the 07 qualifier. And even though the captain was on fire again at Portlaoise, there was a more even spread of scores for Tip this time round. Declan Fanning set up year-old Ryan for a nice early one. And even though they weren't hitting any great heights when Noel McGrath struck a beauty from near the sideline, he became the 5th Tip man to split the posts in the opening 17 minutes and put his side 6 points to 1 in front. Offaly were hassling and harrying, but looked tired and weren't able to penetrate nearly as often as they needed to. Joe Bergen's effort was one of just 2 points from play they scored in the whole first half. They did have 9 wides though. Of course, they were playing into a massive wind, but even without being outstanding, Tip were still pulling further and further clear, continuing to find new scoring threats, like David Young and Brendan Maher from midfield. 8 different first half scores put the Munster men 9 points up at the break at 14 points to 5. But Liam Sheedy mustn't have been all that impressed. He kept the Tip players in the dressing room so long at half time the linesman had to go into the tunnel to call them out. And it didn't seem to make much difference. Tip continued to be the dominant force without ever really setting the world alight, showing occasional flashes of what they're capable of, like the link-up play between Ryan and